Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily presented by eBay. I'm Dave DuFour here with Zena Keita. Coming up, the Knicks get a big win over the Cavs in game one of their season. We got James Edwards live from MSG to talk about it, and Victor Wembanyama. That's it. Jared Weiss here to talk about it from Dallas. Zena, what's the stat of the night?
34 points by VJ Edgecombe in his debut, with the 76ers third most by a rookie in his debut.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Zena. Good morning, James Edwards, or should I say good night, James Edwards, joining us live from Madison Square Garden, where the Knicks beat the Cavs on opening night, and this was Mike Brown's debut. A lot of pressure for the Knicks, especially Mike Brown, because he's replacing Tom Thibodeau. What'd you think about game one?
They did what they were supposed to do, right? There's been a lot of hype going into this season. This team made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. The only thing they did massive was change their coach. There's not a ton of respect for the Cavaliers in Knicks world because of how their playoff series have gone in the past, even though Cleveland beat them 4 times last year. So, yeah, I think fans looked at this as a test. And the Knicks passed. I mean, they got out to a little rocky start, but then pretty much were in control from middle of the first quarter on. There's a lot to like. Knicks played 11 guys within the first 13 minutes. You see guys like Ariel Hukporti getting the start, Tyler Kolek playing. I think Kolek, Shamet, McBride combined for 31 points, while Cleveland really couldn't get anything from their others other than Merrill had a hot stretch and Dean Wade here and there. Defensively, they picked up 94 feet. You see that trend more in the NBA, and the Knicks kind of jumped in on that. And you saw some point McHale. I mean, I would say that first half, basically, Mikal Bridges was the point guard, essentially. A lot of Jalen Brunson off the ball, a lot of pin-down stuff with him in the corner. So there was a lot of different from this Knicks team under Mike Brown, and it led to a win. So take it one game at a time.
They had 35 bench points, Zena.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had anything close to that in the playoffs, and think about it, they're still down Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart.
And that was the part that got me excited. I mean, obviously, we know what Mike Brown was able to do when he was out in Golden State with stepping up the defense aspect. And we know that that's his whole thing, even with the Kings. This kind of felt like the Steve Kerr Bowl when you're thinking about Kenny Atkinson on one end and Mike Brown on the other end. But Mike Brown, automatically, I did think that the offense looked faster. And what I loved about it was that there wasn't a drop off when the bench came on, right? And that was sometimes an issue last year, James, of just the consistency of offense going from the starting five to the bench. They mentioned a little bit about, Mike Brown saying that this is going to be a little bit of a learning game for them. They're going to get accustomed to it, et cetera. Like, what did you make after the game? What did the players feel like? Did they feel like they had a learning curve, or it looked like it was clicking quick?
Yeah, I think a lot of them do. I think some of these guys are still figuring out where their shots are coming from, right? Like, this is a completely different way of playing for Jalen Brunson. He's a tremendous basketball player, regardless if he has the ball 94 feet or not. But this is different from him, right? Like seeing him come around screens and 45 cuts and stuff like that. Then you look at somebody like Mikal Bridges, right? Like he's going to be a pseudo point guard. Karl Anthony Towns, because he plays the 4 and 5, he has to, in Mike Brown's system, he has to learn every position. So him and Gershon Yabusele have a bit of a challenge there in trying to learn where everybody's supposed to be. Cat needs to figure out where he's able to get threes, where he's able to get downhill. Like even today, like I thought there was moments where he vanished in the game. I thought there were moments where even Jalen vanished in the game and other guys picked it up. But I think that's just part of the learning curve, learning to play faster and learning where their shots are going to come from. I think that'll come with time.
Yeah. What do you think about Tyler Kolek off the bench? It was interesting where he's like kind of playing like a more traditional point guard. I thought, and this to the bench point where they come in, it just felt like there was more organization, right? Like the Jalen Brunson and the starters lineup last year played Jalen Brunson basketball. And now it feels like it's a more cohesive sort of game plan when the bench comes in. I mean, I'm assuming that's part of why we felt like the bench was a little bit more effective.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It definitely felt like they have a way they want to play. Mike Brown didn't even put in plays days before camp. Like they were running off their philosophy and their spacing and their principles and what they want to do, sprinting to the corner, flattening the defense. And he wanted to do that and establish that before putting in plays, because if plays don't work, you know what you're supposed to do after that.
Right.
And I just thought that this is a group that like knew where guys were supposed to be. Tyler Kolek, I thought he did a good job of spraying the ball all over the floor. Even drove to the basket, hit some floaters. I was curious to see if he would play. Obviously, Malcolm Brogdon retired, and they needed a point guard. I thought they'd maybe give Deuce those minutes, and Deuce played a lot, right? But I thought I wasn't sure if Kolek would play, and he had a rough summer league and didn't play a ton as a rookie, and he was solid today, and had some big minutes for them. So I find it fascinating. The Knicks went out to try to add some depth this summer, but it was guys who were there last year when the team didn't, quote unquote, have depth, and Shamet, Kolek, and McBride, who really turned it up. And you really didn't get a ton from Clarkson and Yabusele.
Well, they haven't lost trust yet, right? Like Mike Brown, fresh on the job. These guys haven't made too many mistakes. I mean, everybody's playing in game one. This is like, it's like high school.
Yeah. No, it's still preseason. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the minutes we even got out of the backup bigs.
Yes.
I was looking at Trey Jemison, coming. He runs so fast up and down the court for a 7-footer. I was really impressed with his movement. Hook Porty, like his aggressiveness under the basket. Like there was some really great minutes that came out of, the size. And it's great to be able to go get Jordan Clarkson and have Tyler Kolek kind of step up as another guard for you. But to have backup bigs is a luxury in this league. And so that was really cool to be able to see some depth from that perspective too.
No, I agree. I think that there were some real good defensive moments from Trey Jemison and even Hook Porty. I don't think they looked overmatched in a game against two of the kind of prototypical when you're playing two bigs in Cleveland Cavaliers, right? Like Evan Mobley had some big moments, but I don't think I watched this and was like Huck Porty and Trey Jemison are killing the Knicks at all. So I think that's a great point. And yeah, I mean, listen, you're going to play, if you're going to get that much production from your depth, you're going to play 11 guys a lot. Can you do it? Can they do it again? Can they do it consistently? Regardless, Brown, if one guy doesn't have it going, it seems like he maybe has another guy he can throw in. So we'll see how that lasts. I had questions about how impactful the bench would be. I didn't expect this type of performance from Kolek. I didn't expect this many minutes from Shamet. I was curious if Clarkson and Yabusele still kind of had it. So, I mean, if they're going to, the guys that they had last year that didn't play much are going to just develop into that, then it gives Clarkson and Yabusele time to feel comfortable and see what you got there.
Also, trade chips later on. Let's be honest, James.
So seriously.
This was game one between the Knicks and the Cavs, and we all have spent this summer assuming that is the top two in the East. That's going to be our conference finals. What do you think? How do you feel about how the Knicks match up with the Cavs? I mean, obviously the Cavs were down Darius Garland, no DeAndre Hunter, what you saw in the game tonight, like, how'd you feel about how they match up?
Yeah, it's tricky because I do feel like Knicks fans will obviously say, well, we were missing Mitch and Josh Hart, and I agree. But I think Darius Garland, Max Strus, and DeAndre Hunter are a little bit more vital to how the Cavs want to play. Mitch, obviously, like but Josh is a muck it up guy, right? Like he's not a shooter. He's just a connector, right? So yes, he has a big role, but I think we would all say Garland's impact for Cleveland is far greater than those two. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the Knicks look good. If this is the worst they're going to look, then they're in great shape. I don't think this is the worst they're going to look. I didn't think Cleveland played great, honestly. I didn't think anybody, like I said, I thought it took Mitchell a while to get going. Mobley was kind of going early, but nobody else was really getting going until Donovan and Merrill kind of traded shots back and forth. Nothing from Lonzo, nothing from the Tysons and Proctors of the world. So it's hard to tell, right? It's game one. But I mean, I think these are the two most talented teams in the East. I think that the Cavs have the continuity. If the Knicks can get it together, if they can shoot the three ball well, that's a question I have. They didn't shoot it well tonight. And I'm curious if they're a high volume 3-point shooting team, but if they're going to defend how they did, then maybe they don't need to. So, I mean, yeah, I think these are the two best teams in the East. Am I ready to say that it's going to be the matchup? I'm not yet. I want to see Orlando. I saw Detroit came back against the Bulls but lost. I want to see Milwaukee play a team that shouldn't be in the G League. I want to see some other things. But yeah, these two teams are as good as it gets, I think.
I think the only time that I was looking at this matchup and being like, ooh, this could be a point of concern for New York, despite their absences, despite even Cleveland's absences, is that third quarter run. You're looking at Donovan Mitchell dropping 21 in one quarter, and also the swagger with which he was doing it, right? He was on that court, getting to his spots, giving very SGA vibes the other night in the second half, going into overtime. Like, it was demonstrative how much he was attacking the top of, the backcourt of New York, and there was no answer. Yeah. And that's where you're really like, ooh, Josh Hart is very much missing. When you saw that third quarter, you saw Merrill hitting his outside shots. Any concerns from the defensive aspect?
Yeah, for sure. And I said to somebody that was sitting next to me when it looked like the Cavs were going to come back and make this run, I was like, the Knicks look different in a lot of ways, but they don't look different when it comes to the three-point line. Last year, they shot it effectively from three, but didn't shoot a ton. And teams that they played against shot a tremendous amount against them. And it kind of was the same today. They shot more, but they didn't shoot a great amount. They lost a three-point battle, right? Like, sometimes they're slow to close out. Sometimes they miss rotations. And sometimes guys just get like really comfortable against this defense. And credit to Donovan Mitchell, right? Like, he's one of the best players in the world. So sometimes guys are just going to do that. But Merrill was getting free. Wade was getting three. This is something that they've struggled with under different coaches. And again, we don't know. It's been one game here, but that kind of took me back to last year where it was like teams are continuing to shoot well against them from three. And I wonder if that's just a natural personnel issue or if there's something that can be tweaked there.
Before we get out of here, give me one adjustment that you expect to see from the Knicks, not necessarily before game 2, but over the course of the season. I want to know what's different from tonight in a month.
That's a great question. I think we will see more of, damn you. It's been a long day.
I've got an answer.
Please, let me hear.
Go, Zena.
More Tyler Kolek, baby.
Hey, listen. They love him in New York. They love their second round picks. He's got a loud contingent here. I mean, that's a possibility. I will say, I think that they will. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know. I'm still in preseason mode. I don't know.
All right,
I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there. I'm sorry.
That, or actually, just leave it
all
in.
No, leave it. We'll
leave it all in. James Edwards, that's game 1. You're going to be here. We're probably going to talk to you 25 times again this season. I appreciate you staying up late for us. The Knicks 1-0 in the Eastern Conference. Guys, stick around after the break. We're going to talk about Wemby versus Cooper Flagg with Jared Weiss. Hey, Zena, if you were a rookie in the NBA, all right, like you play college basketball, you're a hooper. If you were a rookie in the NBA, let's say you're the number 1 pick, and let's say you're kind of a big, who would be the worst person for you to play in your first game in the NBA? I'll give you a guess.
The funny thing is they're probably otherworldly, right? Yeah. They're probably extraterrestrial. And it's a good old Wemby. Ruining things for everyone.
Not fair. Victor Wembanyama, not fair. 40 points, 15 rebounds, somehow only 3 blocks. It felt like 50. Jared Weiss covers the Spurs for us. On the beat, this is your first year on the beat, first regular season game, and Victor Wembanyama looks like the front runner for MVP. Jared, what was it like being in the building for that? Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, it's like, you ever like walk out of a movie and you're like, I can't believe what I just saw. My entire life is rewritten. It's that kind of feeling. I mean, the only game I can remember, like the first game that comes to mind that I can remember feeling this way, like, was LeBron James, Game 6, 2012 Eastern Conference Finals. That was the game that he had his transformation where he became LeBron and he became a champion. And he just destroyed Boston, immediately just wiped the floor with them. He just couldn't miss a shot. And it was like scary. Like, you were like sitting in the stands being like, I feel unsafe. And watching Wemby make Anthony Davis look like Muggsy Bogues on some of these drives, I was just like, what the hell am I watching? I've never seen this before. I've seen Giannis destroy people. I've seen Shaq destroy people. Maybe Shaq, like, I guess those guys have done some stuff like that. But like, he's just like doing it. And then he's cracking open a 4-point pull-up 3 over Derek Lively. He's just like doing all of it. He's taking bits and pieces of the most remarkable ends that people have reached in this game, and he's putting them all together into one package. And it's insane. It's truly insane.
It's literally Kareem and Kevin decided to have a child. And then Kobe was like, hold on, like, let me get my crossover and my mentality in there too. And then Hakeem Olajuwon was like, hold up, my defense wants to be a part of it. Can I be an uncle in the mix of the family as well? Like, it's just like this bizarre fever dream that we're watching that physically does not make sense, geometrically does not make sense. Like you're trying to make sense of it. And then you remember the person guarding him is also a 7-footer, but they're not used to being out on the perimeter like that, right? Anthony Davis was on him. Derek Lively was on him. Anyone that was on him couldn't stop him. And it was kind of surreal to watch. And you know what's so funny, Dave? When you opened this, you said, I wonder who's the worst person? I thought you were going to ask, if you're a rookie, what's the worst night that you could possibly have a great game on?
Yeah.
And I immediately imagined, who else scored in that Wilt Chamberlain 100 game? Like, imagine if someone else got 30 points in that game, and that was a career high, and it was amazing, and they had a triple-double, and it's like, no, bro, we only care about the kid that put up the picture with the 100. That's it. And that's funny, what it feels like playing against Wemby.
It's only a 40-point game, right? Like, we're kind of like, we're
sure,
maybe being a little hyperbolic, but it was the way, guys, that he got the 40. The growth from last season to this season, and Jared, I know you spent the summer grinding tape. Yeah, if you guys are listening to this and you're not familiar with Jared, go back and read some of his Celtic stuff. He knows his X and O's, he knows basketball, and he's going to bring that to the Spurs this season. But I know you were grinding tape. I mean, just what did you see in night one that you didn't see last season before he was out and injured?
It's the patience, I think, is the biggest thing. Is he last year, we talked about this with him after his first preseason game, or maybe it's the second one. Last year he wouldn't have been so patient, and so he would have gotten a little bit of a look at a three and he would have just chucked it. He would have seen an opening and he would have thrown the ball at the rim. And sometimes he'd get fouled. Sometimes, most of the time, he wouldn't. And last year, his 3-point attempts were more than twice his free throw attempts, or like around that. It's completely flipped now. He is now, this is like the big thing that stars do, is they start getting 10 free throws a game.
Right.
And he is doing that. And mind you, we're talking about his numbers here, 40 points, 15 rebounds, 0 turnovers. According to ESPN, he's the 4th player in all of the NBA in any game. This isn't an opening night stat. This is an NBA history stat. 4th player to do that since, I think, the 78 season. And he did that in 30 minutes. He only played 30 minutes. It was a blowout game because he destroyed the game. This is like when Clay had 60 points and he didn't even play the 4th, right? Like Clay scored 80 points. Let's just give him 80 in that one, And like, that's what Wemby had 60 tonight, probably, if this was a close game, but it wasn't, because he went up against maybe the best defensive front court in the NBA.
It's
and
crazy.
He just erased them. Like, they look like crap, man. They look terrible because he's so good.
Jade Hoy used to always say all the time, if you don't have anything to say and you just find yourself saying crazy all the time, it's probably like you got to find something else to say. The truth is, like, tonight in this game, Zena, I mean, like, he did like 4 things that I just don't think that a person his size should be able to do, much less did I ever expect to see it happen. That one reverse dunk where, it goes across the lane. I mean, it's just, how is he this nimble? How is he able to slither through the defense? I mean, he's huge. He's the biggest person maybe to ever play in the NBA. And I don't know, he's sneaking around out there.
It's crazy. I just yapped for 5 minutes on TikTok. I made a video because as I was watching this game, and for me, I've always thought that the sheer beauty of big players like a LeBron or like a Steph, or you mentioned the Clay game, but particularly a player like Victor, is not just the agility and his mobility at this size and his ability to do these crazy things. It's the fact that he stacks plays. Right? So if you hear the game stat line of 40 points, 15 rebounds, you don't know if he immediately got, 20 in the first half, 20 in the second half, or if it was like really quiet in the first half, he blew up in the second. we don't know that. Or even if we watch the highlights, we don't know that 4-point play, the pull up and 1-3 came after a monstrous block out on Derek Lively, right? And we don't know that right after he did that and hit the free throw, he came down and stopped a drive from Cooper Flagg and went straight up, didn't get a foul, and got the rebound to start the break again. Like, it's the continuation of the excellence. And it's funny, Jared, I did not know until your piece on The Athletic over the summer about the work that Victor did. We've been talking about the Shaolin monks. We've been talking about him going to NASA. That's awesome. But it was the constraints-led approach. This is a term that is like blowing up the NBA right now. Shout out to Alex Sarama, out of the Cleveland Cavaliers, now with the Portland Fire in the WNBA. But you saw the difference between a player just doing reps, right, and doing the same thing over and over, versus what you detailed, Jared, that it is live action. You are constantly making the reads in real time, and it's allowing you to be able to translate that on the floor. And to your point, so many plays we saw where he would just chuck up a three. He would settle for an outside shot. There was a give and go play that you just saw him make an extra pass, get it back, and not chuck it up immediately, go to the basket. There was another play where he gets the ball on the free throw extended, and he goes up with the ball. He looks like he's like, trying to assess what the situation is. Maybe he's going to pass it out. And instead of just chucking it up because there's a defender in front of him, he fakes out his defender and goes straight to the basket. And you're seeing that comes from the patience, the game slowing down, but also live action reps, being able to see that I have more options than just chucking up a shot just because a defender's in front of me.
Is Wemby a Fortnite guy? I have this theory on decision-making, high-level decision-making, and how kids coming up playing these sorts of games, they have to make so many decisions, like, per second, essentially. And, that sort of training actually lends itself to it. Jared, there were other people that played for the Spurs.
Allegedly.
De'Aaron Fox didn't. And they looked really great. Like the fit, I was shocked by, the youth of the team looking so good on opening night, fitting together. When's he going to be back? And how does he fit in this mix?
Yeah, I talked to some sources before the game. The indication is, or the expectation is, he's back around before the end of the month. So they have about a week stretch here at home after they go to New Orleans tomorrow or Thursday, and then on the day after Halloween they head out to Phoenix and LA for a road trip. So I think they're hoping he'll be back in time for that road trip when they head to Phoenix.
How does he fit though?
Right,
on the court.
that's the question.
Listen, man, I don't know. Like, this is the thing with the Spurs is like they traded for an all-star point guard who I really like as a fit next to Wembanyama, but then Steph Castle looks like an all-star tonight. And Wednesday. I'm supposed to not say the word tonight because we're taping podcast. Yeah, however, people, I just sat courtside for Victor Wembanyama, so my brain is completely scrambled. And the fact that I'm even alive today to tell you about this is remarkable. And so, Castle looked phenomenal. Like, he looked great in this game. This was one of the best games of his career, and it's a complete afterthought because Wemby was so good. But he made a huge statement in this game that he's going to be a defensive presence, who's going to get a lot of turnovers, and he's also going to be a pretty composed attacker at the rim. And we'll see if his perimeter game works. But so, with Fox, it's like, all right, you slide in Fox, Harper takes more of a back seat. And like, they're also probably going to have competitive games. I don't think they're going to be like the Thunder last year. They're not going to win 67 games. Like, they're going to be fighting for a place in the West. There's going to be a lot of competitive games. There will be plenty of minutes for all three of those guys. They're not going to need to go to Jordan McLaughlin nearly as much as they did on Wednesday. So there will be minutes to be shared. However, Dylan Harper looked good. Castle looked great. And I mean, Fox is going to be good. So, this team is going to be interesting this year because they're going to have three really explosive, hardworking guards. And somebody might surprisingly lose some opportunity because the other guys are just simply playing that well. And I mean, Fox has the most opportunity to lose because he has the most opportunity probably locked in at this point.
So we've been talking about how stacked this backcourt is. What did you think about the reinforcements for Wembanyama. I think rounding out the front court, how'd that look like for you on that end? Because that's where I'm wondering if the non-Wembanyama minutes, in terms of rim protection and that sort, is going to work out for the Spurs.
Luke Cornett looks like he's been a Spur for 25 years. You know, I mean, he just fits.
I felt like that too.
He fits
I did
perfectly.
Too. I'm trying to bait you.
If we
for
get
some
him a New
Luke
Balance
Cornett
deal,
love.
I think he's set. You know.
The irony is the team he just played for practices next to the New Balance headquarters.
Yeah. There you go. Right.
I talked to Luke after the game. You know, French Vanilla had a good start here. The Wemby Luke pairing, which is one of the best nicknames I've ever seen. You know, they struggled at the beginning because he got in foul trouble, but like I think they had a pretty decent feel. And also just Wemby just turned it on in the second half, so it didn't really matter who was on the floor with him. But in the preseason, Cornette and Harper had a really good feel for pick and roll. So I think we're going to see some more of that as time goes on. Keldon Johnson is in a very interesting position on this team because he is the 6th or 7th man, I guess. And he's great in that role. His role this year has basically been like offensive rebounder, energy guy, kind of playing like a bit of like an Aaron Gordon type of role, essentially, like kind of like a dunker spot 4. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize him because he's a very, very happy-go-lucky guy. He's very funny. He's the Spurs vet. Like he's the captain of this team, even if Wemby might be the face of it. Like Keldon is he is the heartbeat of that team. He's the guy that's been there. He's the guy that brings that kind of attitude and work ethic. And so it's going to be interesting to see how do they fit all these minutes when Sohan gets healthy. Right. Sohan is really good. Like he was one of their best players over these last couple of years a lot of the time, but there's just not a lot of room on this team because like I've been really high in Champagny since last season, and he had a really good preseason. Tonight or Wednesday night he didn't do a ton, but he was okay. Vassell had a really good game, and then Harrison Barnes is a pretty reliable player. He's really good playing out of the corners. He's a very smart guy. He's very reliable. So like they have so much depth on that team that all these questions you're hitting on are they have like 11 guys that can play. Yeah. How do you play everybody? How do you decide who finishes games? I don't know. We're going to see some ups and we're going to see some downs, and eventually they're going to have to see who kind of like separates themselves. But this is a team that really needs to compete with each other because there's a lot of guys worthy of these minutes.
Yeah, it's good to have options, and it's good to have a guy that makes it look like he's playing on a little Tykes hoop every single time he does something. That block on Derek Lively was one of the single most embarrassing NBA blocks of all time.
He
made
was
him look like a
turned
small
around.
child. It was
he
insanely
was turned around.
disrespectful.
It got dropped behind him. He turned around and did that, Dave.
Absolutely nuts.
Crazy.
All right, that's going to do it for the show. Shout out to Jared Weiss. Thanks for staying up late. Everybody go and follow him at The Athletic. He's going to be covering the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama all year. Thanks to James Edwards. Guys, go and follow him, of course. Covers the Knicks for us. Thanks to Zena Keita, as always. I'm Dave DuFour. This has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.